life science use case that I like to talk to the most is this one around clinical trial financial planning. And when we look at our clinical trials, again, major factor in our P&L and expenses, critical to our business success going forward. You need to get through the trial, successfully launch the product. And there's a lot of components to it. There are patient recruitment costs, there's investigator sign-up costs, there are patient monitoring costs, CRO costs, lab costs. There's support groups, your safety, pharmacovigilance groups, your regulatory affairs. There's a lot of aspects to a clinical trial, and so if you can take advantage of some of the drivers that I mentioned earlier to simplify the planning, you can get more accurate, projecting your trial costs. And we do see companies, not just doing their overall P&L plan, but actually, creating a plan at the project level, right? Project being a trial, right? So I can, plan for, maybe I've got 10 different or 15 different clinical trials going on. I can plan those on an account by account or account and cost center basis, and then I can roll that up and copy it into my overall P&L plan, those expenses. But I'll have the visibility on a trial by trial basis to see how these plans are doing. So if you look at the grid on the bottom of the screen, it's just kind of a simple example of, patient treatment costs, right? So if you have some trials and there's different numbers of patients in the trials, and there's a cost per patient for sign up. There's typically there's a cost for monthly treatment. There's a cost for closeout of the patient and providing the documents. So that gets a little complex, but you can build formulas and planning drivers in PBCS that will handle that for you. So they'll capture the one-time costs at the beginning and the end of the trial, and they'll capture the monthly costs. Now, if you can just update the patient count on a monthly basis within PBCS, you don't have to recalculate all those costs. Your system can do it for you. So this is a nice way or a nice example of a way to simplify your life and come up with a more accurate forecast for your trial, and also to be able to manage your trial and be able to forecast your cash needs and all those sorts of things. Now you can do this with other aspects too. You can do it with your CRO monitoring. How many monitors will you have on the trial? You can do it with labs, but projecting the average number of labs and costs on the trial. You can allocate in other departments, so we'll talk about that a little later on towards the end here, but there's a number of different aspects to the cost of a trial, and being able to do this in a more efficient way is really helpful to companies, especially the planning departments. So that's the main business case for clinical trials. If you look at the planning solution on a project basis, what you need there to be able to really get the measuring is to have your actuals be on a project by project basis too. So solutions like Oracle EBS on-premise or ERP Cloud offer a project modules which allows you to capture actual cost by project. But however you're capturing those actuals, in your own ERP system, it could be a segmented chart of accounts or some other classifier in your payables or financial system. We can get those actuals up to the PBCS system, and then you can measure against them, right? So you can plan, execute your business plans, and then measure against them, the classic management cycle. What you get from this, more accurate forecasting and cost capture, ability to track at a trial basis. You can slice and dice the data now many different ways, right? So if you're looking at, once I have it in a planning solution, I can look at my costs for project or project and vendor, if I have several CROs involved or several major providers, my costs for trial phase, for expense category, right? So there's some visibility here, which can be provided, which will allow you to better manage the cost. Also, we see a lot of companies sharing their expenses for a trial with a collaboration partner, and so if you can properly allocate all the costs that you're incurring, whether that's, again, things like regulatory affairs or safety pharmacovigilance resources, you can partially allocate them to the projects. That allows you to capture all the costs, and then whatever percentage the collaboration partner is supposed to pay for, you can queue that up for them, right? So here's my project, here's all the costs, here's all the details to prove what you spent the money on this month, and here's the 50% that you're supposed to pay Mr. Collaboration Partner. So there's some financial benefit in being able to do that. Just, we have just a couple more minutes here, but just, briefly, here's a quick hit list of other ideas for life science financial planning, right? So sooner or later, most of the life science companies get into, either multiple brand, multiple product line kind of planning, and that can be, just at a high, so it could be a full P&L, or it could just be at a high level where you're doing just gross margins, P&Ls. So being able to do that at a product basis, again, is easy with a tool like PBCS. You can have a dimension for your product, and then you can slice and dice that. You can plan at the product level, roll it all up to the total, revenue, or, across sales sections of your P&L. We do see some different revenue recognition models, too, across the types of products and types of collaboration partners involved. So, again, those can be built in as planning drivers. Cost allocations, I think I mentioned that a couple times. Other project-based activities. So I'm talking about clinical trials a lot, but some of you who are, commercial already will, have lots of projects in the supply chain area, other R&D, discovery projects, even sales and marketing campaigns. So anything that's significant, incurs a significant amount of cost, you want to, sort of get your arms around from a planning and measuring perspective. So being able to plan these other functional areas also can be of great value to companies in terms of reducing costs and again, getting a handle on their capital and cash flow needs. Workforce planning, so several of your companies may be in early stage where you're experiencing rapid headcount growth, and just trying to forecast the salary plans for next month, the next quarter can be very challenging. So again, having a tool like a workforce planning solution module within Oracle PBCS is very helpful. You can just indicate the headcount that's coming on board and let the system calculate all the financial salary and benefit costs. Lastly, I see a lot of companies concerned with their long-range financial planning, 10 to 15 years out, trying to demonstrate the ROI that justifies, the investment from maybe venture capitalists or other investors. So this is another tool which allows you, another feature within the tool which allows you to do that, sort of project out. You can put in percentages and some certain percentages for revenue, or or for costs, or for headcount growth. So lots of capability to to model, if you will, your long-term ROI.